Hi, Mark Whaley, and I worked for all of you. I was in the Sand Canyon Fire Station. Most of the time I didn't do that much. That's because you're all healthy and smart, and most of the time stuff didn't go bad. So that was good. But I'll get right to the point because this is going to be a long night, and I don't want to stretch it out too far. But basically, what you're looking at up there on the board is a Google Earth view of Sand Canyon. And as somebody who manages emergencies and disasters and looks for all of the stuff that can go wrong, which is my whole job, find out what can go wrong, what can go wrong, what can go wrong, find a solution, find a solution, find a solution. You can see the 3 evacuation ways out of this Sand Canyon. 1, 2, 3. Sounds great. 3 choices to get out of the canyon. But what we learned and what the history would tell us is that choices 2 and 3, Placerita and the one up to Bear Divide, thank you, Laser, that's great, that those become out of service quickly. I've been on Placerita Canyon when the fire blew over and almost took out myself, a CNN crew, and does anybody remember Jennifer Bjorklund from the news? She was running for her car, and we got her in there just in seconds before this fire took out about a quarter-mile section of Placerita Canyon and made it untenable. Had civilians been on that road at that time, they would have died. Up to Bear Divide and over the top of Dalton, there would have been fire along that road. We get massive rock slides. Takes out that highway. The rocks keep falling. They keep falling long after the fire's passed. Makes that untenable. Besides the danger of the fire, there's the rock slide. So 3 and 2 become bad choices, and those are quickly blocked off by CHP. Going out Sand Canyon, simply put, you got choke points. You have 3 of them. You have the bridge, because there's no option. You can't drive on the shoulder, because it vanishes. You have the railroad tunnel underneath it, because that's limited. You can't drive around that. A lot of concrete, plus the trains don't like it. And you have a second exit that's over through a little washer down that road. What's that road called? Lost Canyon, yeah. Got lost in there once. Anyway, so that becomes another point, but that just leads you right back to your main choke point, that's the intersection. And what happens time and time again in disasters is the greatest plans fail. And they fail because they don't have enough redundancy, and they fail because it's a great plan on paper, but when 1 or 2 things go wrong, it just doesn't work. And then everybody says, well, we didn't see that coming. Well, we did. Those who work in the emergency field see it coming, see all the disasters coming. So that one choke point at Lost Canyon became a focus of, hey, that's critical to keep that open when we can, and even in the best plans. Even in the best plans, you saw in the previous slide how the traffic is backed up and it just doesn't work. Combine that with fire engines coming in, combine that with parents coming to get their kids at school, and it's going to be bad. Horses going in and out, accidents happening, and then if the winds come and fire jumps and starts buffeting people in various locations, it's going to get worse. Now, so we had a plan. That's our job. We've got to have a plan. How are we going to get these people out of Sand Canyon? Or what's the plan if Sand Canyon is going to grow? That was my task some 15 years ago. Hey Mark, if Sand Canyon's going to grow, what do we need to do to get all these people out of here? I don't live here, so it doesn't make any personal thing to me. If I have to get out of here, I got a fire truck, so I'll get out of here. So I wasn't too worried about me, but for you folks, I was worried. So I said, okay, Chief, I'll come up with a plan. And what we figured out after looking at all the terrain, all the factors, was we had some evacuation routes. I don't know how well you can see that, but coming out of Sand Canyon at number 1 is the Sand Canyon Bridge. We all talked about that. That has limitations, but it works, but it's going to be a funnel. And I said, if we're going to put more people in Sand Canyon, Chief, what we're going to need to do is we need to build a second bridge, and we need to bring roads to it. So there's a bridge right there, and that's at Soledad, and that's over by Lane Station, and up by the quarry, and up by that area there. And then from that bridge, Chief, we're going to need to build some roads. First, there's A. A is right at the top, comes into the lower part of the open space, and is hilly, would need quite a bit of excavation. So that ain't going to be so good. I said, well, the farthest road into that's that little Wildwood Canyon area. That's B. Take a look at that. I'm sure they would love a 2-3 lane road punch right through their community. Let's see how well that would fly. So that was B. And then C is a much longer road. There's already a road established there for hauling trucks. And so that was a little more physically doable. And Chief, that's how we'd solve the problem. That's how we'd get all these people out of the canyon. So, that report, the documentation and all that stuff went away because there was no money to do anything like that. It was just a practice drill. And so when I heard about the development in Sand Canyon and I heard about the numbers of people they were going to bring in, I thought, oh, they're going to bring the second bridge in. Oh, they're going to punch in additional roads. Oh, they're really going to develop the area and make it safe for the people. And then I came in and learned from Ruth Ann, and she goes, no, they're not doing any of that. None of that's happening. I go, that's a terrible plan. That is a disaster. And we knew it 15 years ago. We knew it a long time ago. We already knew the sand fire was going to burn. It was going to come off the 14. It was going to jump the creek and do exactly what it did. We already knew that was going to happen. And all of our contingency plans went into play. Some worked well, some didn't work well. I can freely talk like this now because I'm retired, so it doesn't matter. They can't get to me. Maybe they can. Can they get to me? Who's the police in the room? Where's the sheriff? Gosh, should have been quiet. So that's what we learned, and that was a long time ago. You've had more homes built, some. You've had some development. You have another development going on right along the river. And this additional traffic with that one choke point at Lost Canyon and Sand is your disaster. It might not happen this week. It might happen as bad enough as it is as what you exist right now. The thought of adding this many people who do not have a familiarity with the area, who will probably race up the other way, realize they can't get out that way, and then add to the mess coming down, is a horrible plan, based on everything we studied over a decade and a half ago. Now, you can do with this information what you'd like. I don't have any idea if this is politically feasible, financially feasible, or even legally feasible based on the land use. It may not be it at all, but that was the only solution we found. Because you can't evacuate people to a residential area. You can't evacuate people anyplace else on the 14. There's one other little undercrossing, but it just dumps into a residential area, and there's no on-ramps to the freeway. You have to go all the way up to where Soledad crosses underneath to make it make any sense at all. And so that was our best plan. So based on what I saw, from what she shared, one of the few meetings I was invited to come and talk about, I determined, I said, this is a horrible plan. I don't know who's leading the parade on this thing, but don't do this. Do everything you can to stop it. Or, when the disaster comes, and you're all trying to get out, just remember I spoke to you today and said, God, he was right. This really sucks. We're all stuck here. The fire's coming. Man, I'm going to die. This is terrible. That's the reality, sad as it might be. If there's a couple of questions, I can answer some, or do we want to keep moving?
Well, there's a question.
Okay, here's a question. Go ahead. I don't mind. Yeah, I might have to. Rusty. Hey, Rusty.
The developer has stated that the resort can be used as a shelter in place during a fire. Is this a good idea?
Is this a good idea? It's a fantastic idea on paper. It works great. We write it into all our plans. We have all these shelter-in-place plans. It works terrible in reality. It works terrible in reality for a couple reasons. One, shelter-in-place might spare you the direct impact from the flames, but it won't spare you the direct impact from the smoke for the hours and days to follow. Second, shelter-in-place works great, but when it's 110 outside and you are sheltering in place inside a place that has the air conditioning cut off because you lost power about 8 hours ago from the fire when it first started, that becomes a horrible plan. People don't fare well in that. They had shelter in place in the Bahamas recently. They said, hey, we're going to shelter in place. We're going to go up to these homes that are hardened. We're going to be up away from the edge of the water, and you're going to be fine. They sheltered all these people up there, and when the storm parked on top of the Bahamas for a couple hours, when we came back, the shelter in place was gone. and so are all the people. Now, we're not going to get hit by a hurricane, and we're not comparing the two. I'm just telling you that was the plan at the time. The best leaders in the Bahamas at the time gave their very best plan, and it didn't work. Sheltering in place is not a great plan. We typically use it for when there's let's say a plume of a possible release of chlorine or some other gas we don't want to breathe, and we're not going to be able to get in and get everybody out. We're just going to be dragging them through that cloud of chlorine. And so we say something like, your best plan is shut your doors and windows, shut off your air conditioner, and sit tight.